Hello, welcome to Peaceful Rebellion and
Hello, welcome to Gary from Alternative Interactions.
Super. So, Gary, we left on a bit of a cliffhanger last time because
We,
you said something about alien ships that you didn't finish.
I
So, how
did.
about that? How about that as a starter?
That's a good start. Otherwise, I think the audience and the beautiful Femi will be going, "Oh, they promised us that and they didn't deliver." So, yeah, yeah, we sort of like got to the end of the stage, and then it was like, "What's coming with craft?" wasn't it? And it was Three Eye Atlases, wasn't it? That's the one we was talking about. And I think there's even a comment or people asked in the comments, wasn't there, about Free Eye Atlas?
Yeah.
I've certainly had questions about it. And so, yeah, fundamentally, from my understanding of what I see, and also I'm in the privileged position, and I really am, where I know some very, very switched on cookies who can astro project, see, do tarot cards. I mean, that does give an advantage. It really does. I mean, like, I know you've got your emerises, but I have that, but also I have a group around me which is just they're so switched on,
Mm.
and I'm really blessed for that because it's nice to hear what other people say and feel about this. Okay, and I'm not going to mention any names, but what they see and feel is very similar to what I've been seeing and feeling. So this is the feeling of it. Okay, yes, it's a craft. Yes, it's a non-terrestrial craft.
Mm.
Yes, it contains beings that probably look identical to us, who knows, or not, but it contains beings. But the key point that I'm getting and they're getting is they're friendly.
Uh-huh.
Not friendly for the dumb elites, but friendly towards us, the people. Okay. So um, we've all seen craft before. I mean, God, that would have been about 2017, 18-ish. Yeah, no, before that, 2015, 16. I actually had a period of 6 week period where I had two craft come over in 6 weeks apart, exactly 6 weeks apart from each other. And we actually saw down the road from where I live is RAF Lakenheath
Hmm.
or UAF, the American version of RAF, I should say, really. It's UAF, isn't it? Or whatever it is. And they actually sent fast jets. And we had fast jets dogfighting these three orbs that were flying around the sky for about half an hour, 20 minutes. So I've seen that happen twice now.
Yeah.
And at one point, I was actually hanging out my window looking. They were sat right above the house, and the free lights. If you imagine free lights, they just went. They were like a ship, a craft that was solid. They then split, and they went ping, ping, ping. Just went gone. That was it. So we can't say that we haven't had non-terrestrial vehicles being spotted in the past. What we're seeing this time is one that's kind of a lot larger and can be seen by the dumb elites, and they're going to, I feel, going to be spinning a story about this, and it'll be like the alien invasion, and we could even get some flags that flutter falsely, again breaking the algorithm over this, and we may even get a little bit of Project Blue Beam, sort of like a bit of holographic stuff. But fundamentally, we have nothing to fear. They're there for our benefit, and they really are for our benefit. Um, but what's very, very interesting when we talk about craft that have been here for a long time, and they really have, no craft has ever come from space. It's always seen coming out of a body of water
Mm.
or from the side of a mountain, like
Mm.
a portal. So I am firmly of the opinion, and it's my opinion, that we actually have civilization below our feet that is highly advanced. There could even be part of that civilization in Antarctica, which why no one's allowed to go there. You know, who knows? But I think we certainly have a civilization below us that's far more advanced than we are and has been far more advanced for thousands of years because they have not received and had the resets that the surface of the realm has had, if that makes sense. So I have no fear over anything that's coming here, and I actually think it's a good thing, and I think it's gonna, how can I put this? I think they're going to have an instrumental effect on the positivity of humanity in the short and long term.
Okay, beautiful. Well, let me add, because you asked me to check with the emissaries about this, and so I asked them about that. I said, look, what are we going to see this kind of presence, and what's that all about? Again, they said that's not our remit because we are on the Great Awakening, but as part of it, they said there's there's always been entities that are not of what you would call this realm. Yeah. And they've often talked about that. The ones that we can see, the ones that we can't see, and then the baddies here, the humankind. What they said is whatever happens, and it's just talking about you saying the good and then false those wavy
Flags that
things.
flutter
Yeah.
falsely.
That's right. Yeah.
Flags that flutter falsely.
Yeah. Uh, what they were saying was all we need to do is take the measure of if these beings are asking us or telling us that our salvation is only through them, that allegiance to them is our only salvation, they said that's when you know that it's bad. It's when they come and maybe they've got a message, but they're not telling us to do anything. They're not imposing on us anything. So I think, and obviously, I mean, the baddies have got a very, very obvious agenda that they do, which is, the Hegelian dialect, the problem, reaction, solution,
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and there was something else he said as well. I heard somebody talking about this the other day. They said the day that they imposed the heliocentric model on the world was the day that people stopped considering that there might be other lands beyond this, that this is all, the ball put us in this prison of this is all that there is, there's nothing else, and there's a lot of evidence that suggests that there are things beyond this, there are things below this, the hollow earth has been talked
Yes.
about for a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. There's a lot, there's so much that we don't know
Yeah.
about what else there is there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're just scratching the surface like chickens, to be fair. And and I mean, Admiral Byrd,
Yeah,
he did a show called The Longines Chronicle. And to be honest with you, with all the research on Antarctica, really the only thing that you can kind of take away is this one interview done. And you have to bear in mind that Admiral Byrd was a 33-degree Mason. You
sure.
know, so that there's one side of the coin and the other side of the coin. So again, I look at this as in face value, okay, and circumstantial, okay. Now, Admiral Byrd was the youngest admiral in history.
Hmm.
So he was an admiral at 23 years old. Unheard of. He went to Antarctica, I think, 4 times, maybe five, four, three, 4 times, 4 times. And one of the times he went to Antarctica, he literally took the entirety of the US Navy down there. Aircraft carrier, warships, the full works. And it is recorded that a craft came out from underneath the sea, cut a destroyer in half with a laser beam, when we're talking 60s here, or late 50s, and the entirety of the fleet turned round and legged it to South America, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Um, and that is on record.
Mm.
Not necessarily the craft, but Admiral Byrd did a press conference. I'm not sure if he did the press conference in Bolivia or it was Chile, because obviously Bolivia's landlocked. So he could have ported in Chile and then did the. But Bolivia comes into it somehow. I can't remember now. It's a long time. But we have this program called the Longines Chronicle, And in it, he talks about his experiences of Antarctica and the fact that he saw lands beyond Antarctica that no man had ever stood on.
Yeah.
Now, what's very clear was he was planning to do another trip to Antarctica. That trip got cancelled and he died suddenly.
Mm. Died suddenly.
Yeah, you know. So so make of that what you will. You know,
Sure.
what was this a guy really telling the truth? Finally giving us some disclosure, um, because he knew what how important it was
Yeah.
and what was beyond and how advanced they were, or was this somebody playing a role to then have the story that he passed suddenly in, even though he sat somewhere on a nice sunny beach somewhere smoking cigars, drinking whiskey for the rest of his days. You know, there's who knows, but it's a very, very interesting story.
Sure, yeah. I remember seeing that interview where he was talking about boundless resources that were there, boundless
Yeah, yeah,
resources.
yeah,
You know, if you look at the old maps, the very old maps that have the what we know as our Earth here, and then rings upon rings of other places, you know,
yeah.
that just go out. I mean, so much more. Goodness knows if that's,
Well, while you
really
talk
true.
about maps, sorry, tangent time. We like a tangent. There's maps around 500 or 600 years old showing Antarctica fully ice free.
Yeah,
And they have mountain ranges and valleys and everything else like that. And it's only in recent times that the American Army has used sort of like ground penetrating radar, and they've gone over that entire area and they've found the maps to be 100% correct in
uh,
the valleys, the dips, and everything else like that. Now, when it's covered under 2 miles of ice or whatever they tell us, how can we have maps that are 500, 600 years old showing it ice free and it being correct to the mountains and the valleys, you know?
sure.
But also something that's really interesting on my journey. I mean, this must be 7 years old now, this thing. There's a lady called Sylvie of New Earth,
Uh-huh.
and she did a video probably 6 or 7 years ago. It must be 7 years ago now, saying that we live on a mined planet. And she was showing photographs of Antarctica, and you could see the size of mountains where they had been scooped out by big machines. And she also went through a lot of the UNESCO sites around the world, showing that what this was spoil from mining activity, or this was that, and she did a really really good job,
Mm.
and it was the, I mean, like, I forget where it is now, but they've got these giant round balls, haven't they? Those giant round stone balls, yeah,
Yeah.
massive, perfectly round, and there's lots of them, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, she was saying that this is used in mining today. It's just the balls are this big, but if we were living in the realm where everything was bigger due to the atmosphere, a ball the size of a car in circumference would be normal for somebody of the size of the person that would have been around at that time
Yeah.
compared to now. And it's all relevant. And so I mean, what I'll try and do is send you the link to that one, Gordon, so you can drop
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I could drop it in the
Really, really worth watching because that one is a bit of a mind bender, but
yeah,
also makes perfect sense to what we're on,
sure.
as in the mining activities of the past.
Well, when you look at the story of the Anunnaki, the Sumerian tablets, that was supposedly why they came here in the first place. They wanted to mine the gold, yeah.
Yeah,
The other thing is I was going to ask you about as well, because I know that lots of people say, well, Antarctica was green because then we had a pole shift and everything. That assumes the heliocentric model, I presume. Yeah. There's been photos of pyramids down in Antarctica flashed about. There's only one set of. Have you seen any more information on that? Do you think that's a real thing?
um, there will be pyramids. There's pyramids everywhere,
I agree.
um, and there will be. I mean, there's even pyramids in the UK, even though you can't see where they are anymore, they've collapsed, but there's pyramids everywhere. And the reason why there's pyramids everywhere is because they actually copy the Great Pyramid of Giza, which is a very, very important pyramid. And that's why we get the pyramid um, copycatting going everywhere. But
Yeah.
what's very interesting about this is um, all pyramids have a lower chamber.
Hmm.
They knew about the lower chamber in the Great Pyramid. They didn't know about the upper chamber. And the upper chamber, I think, was only found in, was it 856 AD by some Muslim, I forget what his name is now, but they were blowing bits of the pyramid up internally, looking for treasure, like you would, and they then found the king's and queen's chamber, which is above, isn't it? I
Hmm.
think. Well, no pyramid in the world anywhere has ever been built with an upper chamber apart from one.
Okay.
So if you were copying something, you'd copy what you knew,
Well, you knew, yeah.
not what you didn't know.
Sure.
So for me, you have an original template and then you have pyramids that are later.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
see what I mean?
You think Egypt is the original template then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Okay.
do. I do. But time-wise, time is as we know is not fluid in the way, and it's not linear in the way we think it is. So um, I think from memory it was 2903 or 5 BC when the pyramid was completed in Egypt.
Yeah.
And so all other pyramids are likely after that period because it uploaded information into the hieroglyphy.
Sure.
Anyway, getting back to Antarctica, um, I've done some work with Sonia from the Tree of Knowledge, very interesting lady. And in Antarctica are the halls of Amanti. And the halls of Amanti are fundamentally the knowledge of everything. And there's three chambers of the halls of Amanti.
Hmm.
And if you vibrate at a certain frequency, you can get into the first chamber. And there's a chair front there. And if you sit in the chair and you vibrate at the right frequency, it'll take you through to the next chamber. And if you don't vibrate at the right frequency, that will transport you anywhere else around the world and sit you on top of a mountain
Okay.
or wherever. Do you know what I mean? You get kicked out of there
I thought you were
fundamentally.
going to say it explodes you as
No,
well.
no, no, no. But you get shoved outside and you're like,
Okay.
okay, I don't think I'll play that game again.
Yeah.
But they do have what they call the Halls of Amanti, which is one of the most high-tech um, control mechanisms of this realm with the knowledge. It's a bit like the Akashic records,
Hmm.
but in physical form in this realm. And that's definitely in Antarctica.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because one of my bucket list things is to go to see the pyramid in Bosnia because that's fascinating. But I just saw a message. It was just a one-off, but they found another pyramid in, I don't know whether it was Poland or something. Another one that's been found. So they're
Yeah,
everywhere, as you said, they're everywhere.
yeah, yeah, they are. They are.
Just an interesting thing. I don't know whether you know the channel. I think it's called Crow 777. Have you come across them?
I have heard of it.
Yeah.
Is um, is that mud floss fossils or no?
I think they talk about everything, but I recall that I think it was the same guy, he uploaded a video of the moon showing the moon glitching sort of,
Yes,
and,
yes,
and
I've seen
he
that.
lost his
That's it.
channel and they took him down and everything because of
Really,
it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I
Because
was listening.
you could
eh?
see like a holographic line going across, couldn't you?
Yeah, like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I was listening to a show that they were doing. I mean, the two guys that were talking, very intelligent guys, but they were talking about the pyramids, and they were saying, "Hang on a minute, we've got structures that are we can't achieve today. Precision that we can't achieve." And they said, and then on the walls, we've got this one-dimensional paintings of people, one-dimensional. And they said not only that, but the paint that they use could not last for the length of time that it lasted. It's the same as the cave art that they say were drawn by the caveman. That paint doesn't last that long. Doesn't matter how well it's preserved. And they were saying it just doesn't make sense, that they can do all these wonderful feats of engineering, but they can only paint two-dimensional stuff on the wall or one
Yeah,
dimension.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. No, no, I agree. I mean, there was a hoax, and it is a hoax about the Great Pyramid of Giza recently, where we know there's structures underneath. That's
oh
without
yes,
doubt.
yeah,
But they were showing people going under, and there's all hieroglyphs of, Egyptian hieroglyphics and all the bits and pieces, yeah. And there's like, oh wow, 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 wow. Well, that was total and utter bumcum. Inside the Great Pyramid of Giza is not one single Egyptian artifact
mm,
anywhere.
mm,
The only thing or piece of graffiti or writing there is inside the Great Pyramid of Giza is there's a little piece where they show you the size of how they built the pyramid. And it's like an inch, the English imperial inch. It's slightly different, but it's very similar. And so there's a guy called Sir Flinders Petrie, an English guy in the 1800s, and he went out and he measured the entirety of the pyramid to within 1,000th of an inch imperial, but they worked it all out. And throughout all that time, they have never found any kind of hieroglyphs, carvings, or anything inside that pyramid. So
yeah,
when they said that we went below and there's all this stuff, and that was the foundations of it, no.
mm.
The Egyptians didn't build the pyramid. The pyramid was there when the
Was
Egyptians went
there,
there.
yeah. I'll tell you a funny story about the pyramid from my background. I don't know if you know, but I was brought up as a Jehovah's Witness for the first 20 years of my life. The Jehovah's Witnesses started with a guy called Charles Taze Russell. He was a 33-degree Mason, surprisingly.
Yeah.
They all had jobs to start stuff about that period. But he was a pyramidologist. He loved the whole pyramid thing. And what he did was he went there and he measured everything on the inside. And from the measurements, he projected the end of the world based on,
Yes.
yeah, for an inch and all of that. The problem was that he measured everything with a metal rule. Well, it's hot there, so there was a bit of expansion going, and so he mismeasured a bit.
Yes.
But I think I'd give them room to say, well, actually, it wasn't 1940, and it was actually 1970. Nope, it wasn't. It was, you know. But it was just interesting that he used the pyramids to foretell the end of the world.
But they you actually can, because if you use Sir Flinders Petrie's measurements, which are correct, um, and take a lot of the measurements and cross-reference them, divide them by phi and pi, and all play around, it gives you dates,
Sure.
and the dates are very consistent throughout, and those dates comport to phenomena or resets or cataclysmic events or disasters that happen on 138 year period segments. So not every 138 years do we have a disaster,
Okay.
but every 4 or 5 we do. So 2239 BC is Noah's flood,
Uh-huh.
and it's 2239 BC. And that's divisible by 138 years to all the other big cataclysms that have happened. So they're all divisible by each other. Now, obviously, what we have the problem is the Roman Catholic Church changing the date signet. We
Yeah.
have different date things going on all the time, and we also have where there's been periods where the sun has actually retrograded in the sky. Don't know how that works on a planet system, but there we go. So the
Don't
planet,
ask. Don't ask. Yeah, it's too complicated.
yeah, 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 yeah. But the sun will retrograde in the sky and will change the time, will add days or take days off the calendar,
Hmm.
right? And there was a period of time I can't remember when they did it, where the Roman Catholic Church actually took 10 days out of the calendar that year to bring the seasons back into alignment because it got so far out. Um, so there's a lot of skullduggery. So this is Archaic's work fundamentally on his chronological information.
Uh-huh.
And so he's been able to work out exactly when. And it's very interesting that other scientists have predicted date wise certain cataclysms that have happened, or history will show a date very clearly of when something happened. And that ties in exactly with the 138-year divisible period, which
Okay.
is quite fascinating. So, for instance, and this is I'm not spreading fear or anything like that, but in 2040 is the next one,
Okay.
and we haven't had a big one for a very long time. It's going to be a big one, you
Okay.
know. And so with that metal ruler, well, they were out because 1975 to 2040 is not that far apart in the scheme of things when you're measuring a pyramid that was built 2900 BC.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so they were fundamentally fairly
It was
accurate.
19, I think 1914 was the date that it was the start of Jesus Perusia, Jesus' presence. That was the date that they got. And
Yeah,
based that on everything else was based on the 1914.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I got a question for you. Okay. So, you know, when I listen to what I've been told all of my life about the fact we're on a planet and the sun does this and the moon does that and the stars do the other and all of that. And now, obviously, for me, it's like, well, I don't believe a word. I might just start using my own eyes and have a look with my
yeah,
own eyes because we've been taught truly as part of one of our biases not to believe what we see, to believe what we're told, but not what we see.
yeah,
So I've heard a lot of talk from all over the world of people saying there's something going wrong with the moon. The moon is not what it used to be. Something here in Spain. It's back to normal, but we had a period of maybe 3 lunar months where instead of, you know how you see in the books, it goes like little slivery bit, little bit bigger, 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 bigger moving across, yeah.
yeah. Gibbon and then waxing. Yeah,
Weighing and waxing, yeah. It started at the bottom here in Spain and it was moving up. And we had 3 months where it started at the bottom.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, just wrong. I mean, it wasn't exactly 180 at the bottom. It was just to one side, and we were saying, right, hang on a minute. That's not what we've seen all of our life. What's happening? What have you heard any sort of talk of that?
Yes, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Fundamentally, when the moon does that, it's kind of showing the end times, revelations. It's that kind of
And
period
when it
of
goes red as well. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. When the moon goes red as sackcloth, that is the Phoenix event of the 2040 or the 138-year period. And so we have got recordings of the moon going blood red, haven't we?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And those dates would tie in exactly with a divisible period of 138 years from when it last happened,
Okay.
or X amount of periods of 4 periods of 138 years. Bang, here you go.
Mm.
So yeah, you're quite right. The moon has moved and did move, and I don't know if it's gone back again, but it's
This
very
month, this month
interesting.
it's normal. This month
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
yeah.
But it's very interesting that when we look some of the flags, particularly the Muslim flags or Muslim country flags, the moon isn't there with a star. The moon is upright with a star,
Yeah.
and that denotes a change. Or it's a, I mean, I had a guy I used to work with years ago who was Turkish, and I asked him about the flag once, just chatting away. And he said, yeah, he said, after this great battle that we had, we were victorious. And they looked in a puddle, and the puddle was red because of the claret that had been spilt. And in the reflection of the puddle was a crescent moon with a star above it, and so that became our flag.
Okay.
Which is, yeah, that's quite believable. Great story. But what if the moon had actually done that when they'd had the battle with whatever star or planet we're told sat above it that created the perfect environment for something to have happened that allowed that victory to have happened?
Mm. Hmm.
You know?
Sure.
But yeah, but again, the movement of a moon like that really does destroy the planetary system mechanism. And I
Completely.
mean, like, I can remember when I sort of first got into flat Earth, we started observing the moon because at school we're told that the moon comes out at night and the sun comes out at day. Well, that ain't true.
No.
Yeah, the sun may come out at daytime and go and, do all the bits and pieces, but the moon can be out as often as it is during the day as it is at night.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's not what I was told at school.
No. And I'll tell you something else as well that, I mean, again, I'm just a very simple, I'm not a scientist or anything. I just use my eyes. And I know that I've been told that the shadow on the moon is the shadow of the earth with the sun behind us. So that yeah. So like, oh, by the way, in Spain, that means a lot. Okay. This movement means a lot. I'm just used to doing it. Umpteen times. I'm looking in the sky, the moon's there, the sun's there, and the moon's got a shadow on it. And I'm on the earth looking up, thinking, so what's creating that shadow then? Because the earth's not in the way.
No. And
No,
the shadow will be on the sun's side.
well, I don't know whether that's the case,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. Because I've observed the shadow being so the sun's here, the moon's here at an angle, and the shadow's here, and the sun's here. So the shadow's in the wrong place.
nothing, it makes sense when you look at that. You think, "Oh, no, the sun, I shouldn't be able to see the sun, or it should be at least below the horizon for the moon to have a shadow on it. This doesn't make any sense. However, maybe some scientists would say, actually, well, what that means is, maybe, but it just using my eyes, something seriously awry with that.
Yeah, no, no, I agree entirely. It doesn't make sense. So these observations, like I'm just talking to you now, is what we did years ago. So this was around probably 2016, 15 again, around the time when we saw those craft. Because we were spending a lot of time at night time, sat there in the bedroom, all the lights off, the curtains wide open. We were in a house on the side of a kind of a valley, and we looked across a huge area, and we had a massive sky. So it was like a big widescreen television, and it was good viewing. And we watched the moon one day, and the moon, it sort of comes across and it's doing it at that speed, and it gets here and it went what? So it's moved consistently to a point, and it just went. Well, that's impossible.
Hmm.
And we watched it do it several times, and at that point, our conclusion was, what the hell that is, we don't know what it is.
No,
Because that ain't natural. It isn't, doesn't follow any of the patterns. It's wrong. Apart from it getting new, full, new. Apart from that, God knows what it is.
yeah, absolutely. Do you know, interesting, you're talking about how long ago was it that you were seeing these lights in the sky? How many
Probably
years?
2015, 2016.
So, right. Because when I first started coming to Spain, so we're talking maybe 20 years ago, I was driving with my sister and my mom and my wife now. We're driving up toward our house. It's in the middle of the countryside. There's no light pollution. And just there were three, a triangle of lights just moving across the sky, and they stopped. And there were different colors, like a red and a blue and something else. Just stopped there, and we stopped the car and we sat watching it for ages, and then it went whee. I thought, wow, I've seen one. What it was, I don't know. But
No.
once you've seen it, because you hear lots of stories, but when you've seen it yourself, and somebody says, I saw something, you think, yeah, I know, because I did too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, plenty of my friends. Obviously, I don't tend to have the kind of friends most people have friends
I can
with.
imagine.
Yeah, yeah, you can. Yeah, and some are crazier than me, in fact. So, so a lot of my friends have had experiences with craft and not seeing beings, but certainly the craft.
Yeah.
You know, a friend of mine said she's laying there in bed one night and suddenly the whole house went doo, and the lights changed in the window and everything. It's all a bit weird. And so she's like, "What's going on?" She sort of like looks out, and the craft has actually landed on her house.
Holy cow.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And it's like, "What's going on here?" But
Yeah.
she wasn't probed. She wasn't taken away. It sat there for a little while, and it went off. And it was just to let her know that she's not alone,
Okay. Yeah.
and she's safe, and and that's what she took out from it. It wasn't the fear. Oh my God, where's the probe or anything like that. It was really, really
Do you know when she was telling you that story? I mean, I know we're accustomed to hearing things like this, but how congruent was she when she was telling the story? How believable was she?
110%.
Yeah. I tell you, I asked that because I've been teaching Spanish for a lot of years, and I had a student, and you end up talking about all kinds of things when you're teaching, a language. You're just chatting away, and I said to her, "Do you believe in ghosts?" And she said, "Yeah." But it wasn't like, "Yeah, I believe in them," because and she was absolutely congruent. "Yes, I do." And I said, "So why?" She said, "Because I've seen them." And I said, "Explain, tell me more." So she said, "When I was a child, we lived in a house that was haunted, and every time I went up the stairs, there was a woman standing on the stairs. Didn't do anything, an old woman. And I used to, in the end, she said, I just say, oh, whatever, let me go by." But because she'd seen it and she'd experienced it, she was absolutely congruent when she said it. It's not like when some people tell you things and you think, no, no, this really happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the house I'm talking about with the big window that's over Sutton Valley, that was possessed, haunted.
right.
So you would come down in the morning and every single drawer and cupboard in the kitchen would be open.
Hmm.
Um, the amount of times it felt like somebody was creeping up behind you, particularly in the kitchen, was just off the chart. In fact, the children and my partner at the time refused to go downstairs at night time.
Wow. Okay.
Um, We'd sometimes my partner would be woken up in the night with a lady whispering in her ear while she's
Right.
sleeping. And we had a cat at the time, and you know what cats are like. If you shut the doors, they're scratching. They
Scratch,
don't
scratch,
like it.
scratch.
Yeah, yeah. So we would always have the door ajar, and we had a long sort of corridor area. It was a four-bedroom house. So it was a big house. And so we had sort of like you came up the stairs, turned sharp. There's a bedroom here, our bedroom, a corridor, bathroom this side, and two bedrooms over here. So it was. And because it's such a large area and there was no real natural light in that part, because the kids, if they had their bedroom doors shut or whatever, for privacy. So we put a little lamp, little night light in the socket there. And we would regularly be in bed and the light would dim and come on again. But what it was the light would maintain its level below and above, and something would just float across the light.
Oh,
And that would be a weekly, sometimes twice a week occurrence.
wow. What would you say, Gary? Because I know you've all of your life you've kind of had these spiritual experiences. What would you say would be the most powerful experience that you've had spiritually wise, or whatever in that?
Um, that house. Well, there's two. Um, do you want the scariest one first?
Yes.
Um, in the house that we lived in, it was an 80s build and everything was 80s. So the heat, although it had gas central heating, the boiler was either on or off, and that was it. So we left it on all the time, but we had a thermostat in the lounge, and it was one of those physical ones where you turn up or down. So we'd run it all the time. So even in the winter, the thermostat would be set, say, at 16 degrees. just for the sake of it, and it never come on, obviously. And as it got colder, we might turn it to 18 or 21 during the day, evening when we're about. And at night time, I'd turn it down to 18. You get up in the morning, it's warm enough to sort of like, turn it up to 21. And within half an hour, the whole house is warm. So we kept the house at a constant temperature. And every night I would go from 21 degrees to 18, physically turning this. So the lounge is 26 foot long. I don't know what that is in
Big
meters, but
house, that wasn't it?
oh yeah, it's a big house. Big 4 bedroom house. I mean, it literally had 3 double bedrooms,
Hmm.
and one small, and the smaller bedroom was a good size single. It wasn't a box, it was a good size single.
Yeah.
So the lounge was 26 foot long and it was about 15 foot wide. So, you know, you could have a party in there, a disco in there, in
Absolutely.
fact. Um, and so that night I turned the thermostat down to 18, fed the cat, got upstairs, really happy to be upstairs. Downstairs wasn't a good place to be. So I'm just getting into bed. Click, the heating system comes on. Now I've just turned that down. I'm anal. I'm OCD. I'm anal. There's no way I did not turn that down. I've just turned it down and clicked, the heating's come on.
Mm.
And I immediately got this shudder down my body. I thought, oh my God. So I tried my hardest to persuade the girlfriend to go down, and she weren't having none of it. So I get up, go down, and as I'm walking down the stairs, so we've got stairs to the front door, and next to the front door is a glass doored sort of thing where you can look into the lounge. And it
Yeah.
was very strange that you had switches for the lounge lights on the outside of the corridor as well, or the hallway as well as inside.
Okay.
Very strange. But so as I'm going down the stairs, as I sort of like you got the ceiling level as you're going down, I get so far and I'm suddenly thinking, it felt like I'm walking into cold water.
Mm.
So you've got that cold feeling. So I stood on the stairs and I'm going, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do. So like Dutch courage. It's okay. It's okay. There's nothing there. There's nothing can hurt you. There's nothing there. Everything's okay. So I then go down into the hallway and I've just walked down into some cold. It's feeling cold. I mean, I'm not saying you could see your breath or anything stupid like that. It felt wrong, cold. So I've switched the lights on for the lounge and I'm looking through the door. So the door's shut and I'm peering through, thinking this glass door, thinking, can't see anything, can't see anything. And everything in my body is saying, don't go in there, don't go in there. But I'm too tight to leave the heating on all night long,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
absolutely. That would be my money. Money's burning.
Yeah, that's the one. So I opened the door, stepped into the lounge, and I got, it's a trap, run. I'm going all goosey with thinking about it. And I literally ran down the 26 feet to the bottom, and the thermostat had been put on 30 degrees.
Wow.
And this is a trap. This is really bad. This is really dodgy. Get the hell out of there. And I panicked and I spun it to zero. And I think 3 steps did 26 feet and did the stairs in 3 steps as well.
Olympic level.
Yeah. Yeah. And somehow managed to turn the light switch off as I went past it in midair. And I got upstairs and I literally cried and I shook.
Uh-huh.
And I've never been so scared, and it felt like a trap. It felt like something was waiting there that was really not of this world. And yeah, we seriously considered getting the priest in, and say we got up the next day, went down, and it was just normal.
Right. Was that a rental house or had you
It was
bought
a
it?
rental,
Rental.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But many a times we were like, do we get the priest in to start spreading the old holy water? It really was a yeah,
Interesting.
it was an experience. But so yeah, that one was really scary. But the other one, which was really a defining moment and really changed the course of my life up until recently, fairly recently,
Uh-huh.
was when I was 7 years old, Christmas time, in bed upstairs. a being walked through the wall from outside, and he was a fire being, as in it was like little flames all over him. He was about 6 foot tall, bloke, good build, like bit like Linford Christie kind of build. Do you know what I mean? You
Sure.
could see the definition of the being, and I felt the most peaceful I've ever felt in my life because I'm watching this thing coming through the wall. You think, you'd scream or no, total peace. And I lay there in bed, and it came over me in the bed, and it came over my face, and it imparted information into me. Stood up and walked straight out the wall.
Were you aware of the information, or was it? Yeah.
Some of it.
Uh-huh.
Uh, One of it was that I had to marry an Asian woman,
Okay.
and I did.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I had no control over that. That was imparted in me, and it also made me very black and white. So it was one thing or another thing. There was nothing in between. There was no grey zone ever. It was
Okay.
that or it was that.
Okay.
You were either right or you were wrong. And a few years ago now, a friend of mine, she said, I've been told that I need to take something out of you and look inside your body. Is it all right? I said, yeah, of course. I trusted her, very powerful healer, shaman, full works. Yeah. And she sat me down and she said, I'm going to take something out of you. Is that all right? I said, yes, fine. And she told me she actually took a man out of me. And that had been placed in me at 7 years old.
For good or for bad, it had been placed in you.
Bad.
For bad.
To stop me from seeing the multiple possibilities of everything. Because if you can only see in black and white, it stops your ability to see the grey
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
and the different shades of grey.
You can't be an investigator anymore if you've seen just black and white. It's very limiting, isn't it?
Limiting. Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, wow.
So
And what happened when that came out? What happened? How did you feel after that?
lighter, like a
Uh-huh.
weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I felt like the man who apparently walked on the moon. I just felt so light, and it was just like, oh, I can breathe again, and it was just like something had been lifted off me completely. Really, really strange. I didn't feel anything when the thing was taken out of me. Um,
Yeah.
no sensation whatsoever, but I felt so light.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
oh my God,
Nice. Nice when that happens.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I had I mean I haven't had that intensity of experiences, and I certainly haven't been exposed to sort of the ghosts, apparitions and things like that. But once I was in working in Morocco, and I went to the supermarket, and I'd only been in Morocco for a couple of months. It was all very new, and I felt out of my depth. I didn't feel good there. And I parked the car and I went in the supermarket, did the shopping, came out to this enormous crowd. In Morocco, what happens is if something happens, everybody gathers. In Morocco, they'll gather to the opening of a tin of sardines. They're there. But nobody helps. Everyone just watches like this. So what had happened, I had forgotten to put my handbrake on the car, and it had rolled out of the car park and crashed into another car, like T-boned into a car. Oh my God. And it must have been like good 500 people just all standing. And in that moment, it was like I said, God help me. God help. I don't know I couldn't speak any French. My French was crap. I couldn't speak any Arabic. And I just felt I am in the biggest trouble ever. I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. And all the people were there, and it's like, they're all about the same height, this crowd. And there's this guy walking toward me, like head and shoulders above the crowd, blonde, tall, just walked and he pushed his way through the crowd and he came up to me and he said, put his hand on my shoulder and he said, do you need my help? And as he said it, I thought, no, I don't. I can deal with this. I can deal with this. And he said, okay then. And he walked away. But he was like massive. And I thought, I think I've just met my guardian angel.
yeah,
It was, because I think I called for help and just came and then but it was just the fact that he was there gave me the strength, and I dealt with it, and it was no problem at all.
Yeah,
It was really a very, very impactful moment for me.
yeah, yeah. I've heard several stories about that kind of thing where people are like, "Oh my God," and then somebody comes in and helps, and guardian angel or the higher self producing something that you need in that moment to allow you to get through it. Which for me again is when we're talking in these terms, we can't be on a spinning ball with no ability to affect anything through manifestation or the creational abilities that we have. Because if they can do things like that to us, we have the ability to do that to them.
Sure.
It's a two-way street. And once you realize that we are the true power, we create this realm, we create, everything around us fundamentally. It then starts to show you really what we probably are not on and what we probably are in, you know. And as they say, they called The Matrix a documentary for a reason.
Absolutely. And what's very clear to me, Gary, is this, that the fact that we need to be controlled, it's fundamental that we are controlled spiritually, mentally, physically, everything. That means that we obviously have the potential that we have is enormous. And that's why it's their entire focus is to keep us suppressed, controlled, small, unable to see beyond this.
Yeah. And for me, Gordon, that's probably been one of the biggest revelations in recent times for me, as in the last 6 months or so. It's the fact that we really are the true power. And when I say that, I'm not saying it because somebody told me it in a book or I've read
Sure.
it, or I'm parroting. I'm saying this because I know it to be true.
Hmm.
I know that we are a fraction of what we could be and should be. You
Sure.
know, we're probably running on 5 or 10% of what we truly are. Literally
Yeah.
5-10%. And when we talk about this 5D ascension and going up, and what we're fundamentally talking about is reclaiming our power and dropping the shackles of control and regaining that power. But the thing is, that power is a very, very tricky thing because if you suddenly have the power to smite things and take things away and add things, if you're having a bad day, you can cause a lot of havoc. And so it's only going to happen when you are really, really able to control and understand who you truly are and what power we truly have.
I agree. And quite a while ago, I remember talking to the emissaries about this cyclical uh, process that we're in. We're in this cyclical, where we come in into the dark and we're suppressed, and then little by little we work through it, we fight through it, and we get to the place where we start to actually realize our own power, and then we create what we want, and then we get to this beautiful place, and then we fuck it up. A- and it's this. I see it in. I was talking to my son about this because I don't know how we got on about it, but we need contrast. It's for our learning. And in fact, if you look at the story of, what this is all about, the being that is everything splitting off and to experience what it's like to be, you
Yeah,
know? And so it's that contrast that's absolutely vital for us. And when we don't have contrast, we create it. This is what self-sabotage is all about. It's if you look at people who are born into money or people who are born into money because of their parents are famous, look at their lives. They're disastrous.
yeah,
Absolutely. They go out all full pelt to destroy the life, to get that contrast. And so I think the ironic thing about our process is that we work so hard to get there, but then we get there and we go, it's a bit boring this. Let's get a bit of contrast going again.
yeah, yeah,
It's like the journey to the destination is sometimes the most exciting bit. Then you get there and you think, "Ooh, I'm here now. What should we do?"
yeah, yeah. See, I agree entirely, but I think what the journey is the point in which we should be doing our learning,
Yes.
and the spiritual growth is the journey. And when you get to that destination, that is not your destination. That's just the beginning part for the next journey.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a
But people
constant
can't
cycle.
see that. But people, you did a very good show. I don't know when we're going to air this, but today you dropped it out. But that was about that graph you're talking about. I
Oh,
forget
yes.
what you called it
The
now. The
Dunning-Kruger
That's the
effect.
one. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Dunning-Kruger. And what it is people go to the top of that graph. And if you haven't seen the video, guys, you need to, because I'm not going to tell you more. But when they get to the top of that graph, after the drop, they go to the top. They think they're at the top of the graph,
Because it says guru.
but
Yeah.
actually, they're still at the bottom
Mm.
because you can never get to the top of the path. The top of the path is the aspiration. And the higher you get to the higher you think you're going to the top of the path, the further back you're going in physicality and mentality,
Mm.
because you then believe that you actually know something when you don't.
You believe you've arrived. Yeah. Do you know, I'm in my teaching of language, I use this metaphor, which is really it's the story of everything, which is that we are, when you're learning a language, you're climbing up a hill, you're rolling a rock up a hill. The rock's so big that you can't see beyond. And so you just roll the thing, I don't know when I'm ever going to get to the top. And then finally you reach the flat and that's it, I've arrived. But when you look, there's another hill ahead of you. You're just on a little bit of a flat. And I think that's what we've got to remember is that there isn't any arrival. That's not the point. That's not the point. It's
No.
a breather. We have a breather.
Yes, we
We need a
do.
breather, thank
Yeah,
God.
yeah. I mean, it's like with me when I first discovered flat Earth. I thought that was it. I thought
Yeah,
I was telling you, this is the red pill. This is the red pill. This is the one. It doesn't get any bigger than this. This is amazing. And all it was a stepping stone,
yeah.
and not a very big one either.
Mm,
You know. But at the time, it was all encompassing.
sure.
And so I pushed the boulder up. I got the flat, and I thought I'm there. And then you realise there's more beyond, but there is always more beyond. You
Yeah.
know, and this also goes back to self work. You know, so we or I never ever stop working on myself.
Mm, mhm.
There's always something that I can improve on. And it's not that I'm being overly critical of myself because I love myself. I've learned to love myself, didn't before. You know,
Well done.
love and forgiveness is the biggest key for everything, isn't it, Gordon?
Yeah,
I mean, you know, your job, isn't it? Part of your job. You're a counselor. You help people try to learn to love themselves, forgive themselves, and move forward. And it's a very big lesson. It's a very difficult one. It's one we always constantly forget often.
sure.
But that never stops working on the inner child to allow you to have the fun aspect of the inner child, but not the tantrum.
Mhm.
To have the ego to be just off the leash enough to give you that bit of hey, but not to come across arrogant or stupid or put yourself in a position that's jeopardizing your safety.
Yeah,
And this growth is continuous, and it's the same as my research. It's a continuous thing. Sometimes we come across something that's big and amazing, you think, oh my god. But now all I do is I look at this thing and think, oh my god, this is huge. But what's beyond it?
sure.
Because there always is something that, there's, we, I mean, I know more than most and less than everybody else.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the not knowing through knowing. The more that you study, the more you realize that you're miles away from
Yeah.
ever knowing. But it's great. I think I was saying in the video, I'm not stupid. I've done the work, but I know that I don't know. But it doesn't make you knowing that you don't know doesn't mean that you're stupid. It means that
No.
you've actually done the work. It's the
Awareness.
it's the Mount stupid people that don't need to learn anymore because I know it all now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. But that only comes with self-awareness and self-work.
yeah,
And it's a very difficult thing to look at yourself in the mirror, because we're brought up, and part of this program and the control mechanism of us is negativity. Because I bet if with your clients, I'm just wondering here, guessing that 99% of your clients will say, I'm this, that, and the other in the negative. They won't tell you anything good about themselves at all. And you then have to say, well, what are you good at? What do you like? What do you, and you have to change the mentality over from the way we've been programmed into the negative. And the negative program is part of the control mechanism to hold us down and stop us from reaching our full potential because we have so much potential.
Sure. Yeah, we've been programmed the wrong way. We've been programmed to be losers, really. It's what they wanted us to be. And so it's a big job to get that self-love, self-worth, self-value is is ever so important. And just about everybody who comes for help in therapy is because they've got issues with self-worth, self-love, self-value.
Yeah.
It's just the way that it is. Interestingly, you mentioned the ego, and while you were talking about the therapies, for anybody that's interested, I was given, shall I say channeled? Yeah, we're in there. Yeah, I was channeled a course it called Ascending the Ego, and it was given by the emissaries. And what they were explaining was that we are taught to try and suppress the ego, to stop it, to get rid of it, the death of the ego.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. What we have to do is ascend the ego so that it actually, because it's a part of us, we can't get rid of it. It's programmed into us, in fact. It's programmed into us on purpose. And so we have to ascend that ego to let it work for us. So I did this really interesting course. It's free and it's on my, if for your
Yeah,
channel, Gary, I'll
please.
give
Yeah,
you
yeah,
the
yeah.
link. I'll give you the link. It's kind of like the whole, it's quite a lengthy course, a good few hours, but it's free and you can download it if you want to go through and ascend your ego.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm?
Because again, Gordon's just said it in a much better way than I did, and a far more professional way. But that's the point. The ego needs to be there, but it needs to be a mature, controlled ego. And obviously, we all go to the chimp stage and go and throw the baby with the bathwater out, and but it's bringing it back, understanding, and then looking at why you did it. Why did you react? What triggered me? What have I not worked on that caused that for me to act in that inappropriate way, rather than the I hear what you're saying, I'm not going to react to that, but I am going to process what you said and
Yeah,
think about it and come back with a response if I need to. And they're two very, very different responses, but both have the same outcome.
sure, sure. Absolutely. Well said. Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, Gary, we've been talking for an hour. Been
Goes
absolutely
quickly.
fascinating, and I can see a pathway opening opening up that we could go for another hour down there. But maybe we should talk the next time, yeah?
I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
Um, if it's too long, I think people start to sort of phase out a bit. And I fully get that.
sure.
An hour is a good length of time for somebody. And also, we've got busy lives, and we still do have busy lives.
Absolutely.
And anything over can sometimes be a bit of a chore to fit in.
Absolutely. And again, we've been taught to sell our lives by the hour, have we not?
We
Seven
have.
pounds an hour. Yeah.
It's
Wow.
double what I get. It's double what I get.
But when you get to 80, you try and buy an hour. Try and buy an hour from anybody. It's not available. Yeah.
And that's a very good point, isn't it? You can't. You think when you're younger that time's a limitless resource, and when you get to a certain age, you realise it isn't.
Yeah.
And I, at my age, early mid 50s, have made a conscious decision to step out of that time paradigm and do something different. And I know you have in your own way,
Mm.
in the fact that where you live and what you do and how you live your life. We've made conscious decisions that we're not prepared to do what the system wants us to do.
I'm never going to sell an hour of my time the way I used to.
No.
Very, even if you sell it for a thousand, it's still an hour of your time. You try and buy one, you can't.
Yeah.
That's the issue. We forget that. So
Yeah.
Gary, it's been fantastic talking to you. You're a wealth of information. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with us,
Thank you, Gordon.
and we'll talk again. Yeah.
Yeah, we will. Definitely. Yeah, I really do enjoy these chats. So thank you very much, Gordon. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to Gordon of the Peaceful Rebellion and for myself, Alternative Interactions. And
Absolutely.
that's the corporate spiel done as well today.
Yeah, and if you want to lift your ego up, the link's in the video. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make sure I've got a link in my description thing for that. And thank you very much, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Lots.